Okay, welcome to my kitchen. What we're going to do is just review what we did last week in terms of microeconomics. What we said we're trying to do was to build up a model of a firm. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this firm into a variety of different market structures. We're going to see what happens if the market's really competitive, what happens if it's a monopoly, and so on. But in order to do that, we need to understand about the firm's costs and revenues. And what we started to do is to build up a model of the firm's costs. And the way we did that is we said, well, okay, let's think about what are the constraints under which the firm operates. And we said a lot will depend on whether the firm's operating in the short term or the long term. And we said, right, okay, what's the difference? So we said the short run. Is the period of time in the short run. We said there's at least one fixed factor of production. Now, usually that's going to be capital or land, something along those lines. Most likely, because those are the ones that are quite difficult to acquire. Think about Doverbrooks; it would mean acquiring new land and buildings. That's going to take a while. In the long run is defined as a period of time in which all factors of production can be changed. All factors of production are variable. One of the things we said is, well, in time terms, how long is that going to be? And we said, well, that's going to vary very much by sector. For Doverbrooks, the long run would be the period of time in which we can acquire a new piece of land, build a new building, get planning permission from the council, and so on. We're probably talking about years here. Whereas if I'm a kind of street food seller or something, well, all I need is a kind of bigger lorry or something, not a lorry, bigger sort of display, we're probably talking about a matter of days. But the important thing to note is that the firm actually always operates in the short run. So the long run is kind of a planning period. So if you think about Doverbrooks, last year we were operating in the Swan and the Ewart, and we were constrained by our fixed factor production, which was the two houses and the labs and so on. The long run was the planning period, in which one day we'll have 333, blah 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 blah. As soon as we move in, which we have, we're now constrained by the new short run. So okay, it's much bigger, but we're still constrained by the fact we have 333 as our buildings and da 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 da. And eventually, as we grow, assuming we do, that factor of production will get overused as well, and eventually we may need to expand again. So the firm always operates in the short run, and the long run. The long run is some sort of planning period. So what that means is what we're looking at is, well, what happens? What happens as a firm tries to expand in the short run then? And it's kind of inevitable, isn't it, that that if we're expanding in the short run and we've got a fixed factor of production, there's a danger that factor of production is going to get overused. All we said is, let's imagine we've got some sort of very simple business, that's I don't know, stuffing envelopes or something. To start with, as you add workers, then actually this could work out quite well. So we might say, put workers up there. You might say, look, obviously if you have no workers, then there will be no envelopes stuffed. If you have one worker, they might be able to do two a minute. And so what we're doing is we're folding the thing, we're stuffing the envelope, sticking it shut. There's the next one, blah 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 blah. So if you have two workers, what you got now is potentially we've got an advantage here, because what they could do is they could divide their labour. They could specialise. One person could fold and stuff. The next person could go and stick them down. So instead of output doubling, what you might actually get is that instead of two workers being able to do 4 a minute, we make up this idea that two workers can do 6 a minute. Eventually, though, we're going to run out of space. So we've got a fixed amount of table space, for example, fixed room that we're doing this in, and it's going to get more difficult. So a third worker adds and maybe takes it to 9 a minute. They're still, maybe they're doing further specialisation, but they're not quite as good as it's not making quite as much difference as the second worker. The fourth worker, now is only making a marginal difference, and takes it to 10 a minute. And the fifth worker by now, they come along, they crack jokes, there's nothing for them to do, they pull funny faces and juggle. Essentially, they distract everybody, and total output falls to 8 envelopes per minute. Yeah, so you definitely wouldn't want to employ that person, yeah, because you're paying them some money, and all they're doing is reducing the total amount of output. So that's the total number of envelopes stuffed, or to give it its proper name, that's the total product. So if you have 3 workers, the total output is 9 envelopes a minute. So we look at what's going on. We can say, well, look, up to here, if we look at the marginal product, how much does each one add? The first worker adds 2, the second worker adds 4, the third worker adds 3, the fourth one adds 1, and the fifth one contributes -2 envelopes an hour, and because they're reducing the total output. So look at what's happening. Up to here, what we got is that each worker is adding more than one before. And what we say is that we have increasing returns to the variable factor. Between here and here, what's happening now is that each worker is now adding less than the one before. Output's still rising, but it's rising more slowly. We now have diminishing returns to the variable factor, to labour in this case. And finally, when we add the fifth worker, total output starts going down. That's very bad. And we have negative returns to the variable factor. And obviously, we'd never want to go there. So probably we'd end up employing 3 or 4 workers most likely. I mean, it would depend on what they're making, wouldn't it? If they're making, if this is a diamond mine, then you're probably going to employ. Even the fourth guy's probably worth. It's probably worth doing it if you're digging up a diamond a minute. But you're never going to employ. You're never going to employ the fifth one. So that's what we said. So what we said is that as you add more and more of the variable factor to the fixed factor, what starts to happen eventually is output rises more slowly. And that's the principle of diminishing returns to a factor. The fixed factor gets overused. The variable factor have less and less of the fixed factor to use. And what we said is, well, we can show that. We can also show that. Diagrammatically. So we said, well, okay, let's turn what we just said into a diagram. If we use the numbers that we just picked, then, and we look at, that's the quantity of labour now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is output in terms of the number of envelopes. We said the first person added 2, the second one added 4, the third one added 3, the fourth one added 4, and the fifth one, their contribution was -2. So our marginal product of labour line looks like that. Up until there, we have increasing returns to the variable factor. Between 2 and 4, we have diminishing returns to the variable factor. And after the fourth unit of labour, we have negative returns to the variable factor. So what we're saying is that initially marginal product is rising, so total product is rising more quickly. Then marginal product is falling. So here's this here. This here is the area of diminishing returns between those workers there, where output's rising more quickly. Sorry, more slowly. So the marginal output is falling, so total output is rising more slowly. So we finally said, well, okay, let's link all that together and say, well, how do our marginals and our totals link? And what we said is, well, okay, so again, if that's the quantity of labour and that's output in terms of envelopes, and that's also the quantity of labour, and that's output. And we said, we said that marginal product then is going to look like that. Oops. And what we said is that up to that number of workers there, whatever it is, we'll call it X. So in zone A, output's rising more quickly. So the first guy adds a bit, the second person adds a bit more, the third one a bit more, the fourth one a bit more. So it's rising at an increasing rate. And that's, again, zone A is where we have increasing returns to the variable factor. Total product is rising more quickly. In zone B, between X and Y, total product is still rising. Because the marginal is still positive. So what's happening is that but each worker is adding less than the one before. So what's happening is it's now going up, but it's going up more slowly. It's going up, 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 like that, until at that point there, the last worker actually adds nothing. We reach the highest point of the total product function. So initially rising more quickly. In zone B, yeah, what we got, that's where we have diminishing returns, to the variable factor. Total output is rising, but more slowly. And finally, in zone C here, what we're saying is that the total output, the total product of labour, actually adding workers reduces the total amount of output that's actually produced. So that's not particularly useful, obviously. So that's the link between the marginal, and we can summarise that. And we can summarise that. I'll just do it here. What we can say, is that if the marginal is positive, then the total goes up. So that's zones A and B. If the marginal is negative, then the total goes down because each worker is reducing the amount of output that's made. So that's zone C. We can also say, I'll just shift over here. We can also say if the marginal is positive but increasing, then the total increases more quickly. Whereas if the marginal's positive but falling, like in Z, so that's zone A. If the marginal is positive but falling, like in zone B, then the total rises, but more slowly. Okay, so have a think about that. Check it with the work that I gave you, to have a go at. If you've got any questions, we've got a lesson tomorrow. See you then.